Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Che, and today we have a special guest joining us. This is my fiance Brandon, and we're going to talk about something a little personal, but something that really helped us realize how precious our health is. And we really hope that this video will also encourage all of you guys to take care of your health. So without further ado, we'll dive right into it. So let's talk about cancer. And I know that word sounds really scary. We were obviously really scared too. Today we're going to go through how we discovered it, what we did to treat cancer, and what we're doing differently to take care of our health moving forward. Basically, back in 2024 November is when all of this happened because we decided to do a health checkup, and it is pretty common in Korea to do a comprehensive health checkup either annually or every 2 years. And it is a really great way to help discover things pretty early on versus I feel like in Canada it's pretty different, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in Canada. I lived there for over 30 years. And in Canada, yes, we have free healthcare, but that's perhaps the only good thing about it. If you ask any Canadian what a health checkup means, they probably think of going to their family doctor, getting their blood pressure tested. The doctor looks in their mouth and their nose and checks their heartbeat, and then they send them on their way. But it's very different here in Korea. A comprehensive health checkup, they do a ton of tests. I think they did over 20 tests on me, including x-ray, ultrasound, a urine test, blood test, a hearing test, lung function test, endoscopy and colonoscopy. And there's a whole bunch of options that you can opt for. So for example, I chose to do a calcium test where they check the plaque in my blood, and Che chose to do a brain scan. These are really comprehensive tests that unfortunately, in Canada, you can't just go to your doctor and ask for or pay for. You would have to have some sort of major symptom. And that's, I think, the first really important detail we want to mention in my cancer story. I had zero symptoms. I was completely asymptomatic. It's scary, but also weird to think that if I had not moved to Korea and stayed in Canada, I might have never found my cancer. One of the big findings in my results was from the chest x-ray, which again, I'd never done a chest x-ray before in my life. Chest x-ray found a 7.6 centimeter mass in my chest wall. The recommendation was to get a CT scan. A couple weeks later, we got a CT scan. The CT scan results showed that there was an object in my chest. It was 12 centimeters by 7 centimeters by 4 centimeters. And I remember reading the results from the CT scan. You know that moment in movies where like the camera zooms out and the person has this like freaky moment? Like that was the moment for me when I saw it, because on the CT scan results, not only did it show the dimensions of the object, but it said, rule out germ cell tumor, rule out lymphoma, which are both types of cancer. And that was when it was really scary for me. Right after that, we took those results to an internal medicine doctor right next to our house, and the doctor looked at the results and said, you're going to need to get a biopsy done. And I think that's when it hit Che, and Che realized,
I didn't think it was too serious, even though we were told to get a CT scan. But when we were told that we had to do a biopsy, that's definitely when things started to like hit me and I started to realize, oh shit, like this might be something serious. I called my parents and I asked them what we should do, and we got an appointment the same day. So when we went with the surgeon, he actually said there's no need to do a biopsy because the mass is so big that we should just proceed to doing surgery and remove the mass immediately, and then we'll do a biopsy afterwards. And I think that's when things really started to escalate and we started to realize that this actually is serious.
and at this point, from what the surgeons have told us and from what we've heard, the most likely case for this kind of object in the chest cavity, it's called the mediastinum, is what's called a teratoma, which is a benign tumor that grows, could be from birth, but it's not cancer. And so even at this point, we were thinking, okay, most likely this thing is not cancer. Yes, I have to get a surgery done. And also important to note, this is not an open heart surgery. Technology has gotten so good. It's what's called a video assisted thoracic surgery, where they, I don't want to show my scars, it's a little weird, but there's a cut in my chest where they put a camera and a light, and then 3 more holes in my rib cage where they insert kind of metal tools, and they look at the live feed from the camera and they do the surgery that way. So it's much less invasive than what you would think of when you think of open heart surgery. Surgery was December 20th. So I went into the hospital December 19th. The next morning, they wheeled me into surgery. The surgery was 3 hours long. I was put under for the whole time. So I was awake when they wheeled me into the surgery room. They started putting all these nodes on me and wrapped me in a blanket, and then they put the mask on, and then I was passed out. And I just remember waking up. I had what's called a support vest around my chest, like a really tight Velcro vest to like press my chest and keep the wounds closed, which was honestly, the vest was kind of uncomfortable and the wounds just felt like they were really bruised, and I couldn't really move very quickly.
And the professor actually dropped by to check on Brandon, and he also shared that the surgery went really well, which was really amazing to hear. But then he actually added that, oh, we have bad news. So he breaks the news that it is, in fact, a malignant tumor. Even at that point, I didn't really understand what was going on, to be honest. And Brandon was just, sitting there waiting for me to translate for him. So I actually had to ask him again, when you say malignant, does that mean it's cancer? He basically said, yeah, so the first biopsy results right after the surgery shows that it was not a teratoma like Brandon mentioned, it's actually a thymoma, and it does mean that it is cancer. That moment was obviously like, boom, like, holy shit, this is freaking crazy. We were not ready to hear this kind of news. I don't know. Did you have any, thought in your mind thinking that it could be cancer?
Not really. I mean, this might sound weird, but it might resonate with you. Like, cancer is something that happens to other people, right? It's never something that you think would happen to yourself. So even when I was there, hearing the surgeon right after the surgery tell us, yeah, it's a malignant tumor, it's cancer, it hit me kind of over the course of the next few days that, like,
Yeah.
holy shoot, I have cancer. To go back to what the surgeon was saying, thank God it was a fully successful surgery, meaning they removed the entire mass. The best case scenario for a thymoma is full resection. Now, that doesn't mean I'm in the clear yet. So this was the initial biopsy results. What the surgeon also said is, hey, we're going to do a full biopsy to figure out what the stage of the tumor is, if it has spread. We're going to find that out in about 2 weeks. So this was perhaps the hardest 2 weeks for us because yes, the surgery was done. I'm kind of decrepit. I can't hardly move. And then tack on top of that the news that we have to wait 2 weeks to find out if I'm going to have to do chemotherapy or radiotherapy or what the stage of the cancer is.
Yeah, because actually at that point, he did mention that most likely we will probably consider doing radiotherapy. I think that's when we started to do a lot of research looking into, okay, what is a thymoma and what do you mean by radiotherapy? Like, how often do you do it? Like, what are the side effects and all that stuff? And no, I'm a pretty emotional slash empathetic person. So when I watch, sad movies or sad dramas or shows, I tear up immediately. And it was so interesting to see that actually I did not cry even when I heard that it was cancer, and even when I was delivering that news to my parents. To me, it felt like, wow, like, this shit is real. This shit is real, but how do we get through? Like, there was no time for me to be like sad about it because I felt so responsible to take care of Brandon as a caregiver, but I also have to translate and I also have to, take care of all the administrative stuff and etc. So I was just trying to really hold myself together, and it was just like really interesting to see that I was very rational throughout this whole process.
I think that's something that not many people talk about in, cancer stories. Obviously I went through the rabbit hole of, hearing and listening to other cancer stories on YouTube and Instagram and other social medias. There's so much that needs to be done. Like, there's so many steps and things through recovery, through the treatment that, of course, it's totally normal to be emotional in those moments, but you also have to stay rational. And so, like, I don't know what I would have done without Che, quite honestly, because she was there helping me throughout the whole hospital stay. She stayed there 5 nights on a really crummy bed. But I think that's just an important point to highlight that if you're going through this, of course there's time to mourn and be sad, but you also need to keep pushing forward. Radiotherapy is much less tolling on the body, so that was a bit of a relief. He also mentioned chemotherapy is unlikely in my case.
It's very interesting when you're going through something like this. When you hear like the bad news that we have cancer, then suddenly you just start to look for like the best case scenario in the worst situation possible, right? So for us, it was okay, we have cancer, we have to accept that. Next is how much has it spread, right? Because that will determine if it's radiotherapy or chemotherapy or how many sessions of radiotherapy, right?
By the way, if you're listening to this for what to expect in the hospital, it's very much a lot of tests. They do a lot of blood tests and they keep changing your IVs. They'll check the chest tube to make sure everything's draining. They woke us up every morning at like 5 a.m. to do x-rays. And there was always a lineup for the x-rays because everyone's getting an x-ray at that time. Fast forward to January 2nd. That's when we went into the hospital to meet not just with the surgeon that led the surgery, but with a whole tumor board, they call it. So this is, we go into a boardroom, there's like 5, 6 doctors there. They're all surgeons, professors, cancer experts, and they've all reviewed my case together. And they have these slideshow of the images of the tumor and all this stuff. And basically they sit us down and they say, the surgery was a complete resection, meaning they fully removed the tumor, and the thymoma was stage 1 and type B1, meaning that it's not very aggressive. It was fully encapsulated kind of in that pouch of tumor and cancer cells, and because the surgery was a complete resection, I don't need to do radiotherapy or chemotherapy. That moment was like the wave of relief hitting us. We were thinking the best case scenario was a bit of radiotherapy, but now we've been told I'm basically clear. And the next steps will be come in every 6 months to get another scan to make sure the cancer hasn't come back. Going through that made me realize, wow, there are people out there that have much worse cancer cases that are in much worse places that would do anything to trade places with me and to get the results that I just did.
Yeah.
And so that was like a really big wake-up call. The surgery was like just about a month ago, so it's so easy for us to fall back into our old habits and just go back to normal life. Jay and I are being very intentional about documenting this and sharing this, and also like remembering that like this happened, because it almost feels like it was a bad dream. Like we're back at home now, we're back to our regular lifestyle, and it's a strange feeling to have gone through that. And so I think that's part of why we want to share this, is to really stress the importance of health. Let me tell you, like through that month, I didn't care about anything else. All my career goals, all my personal goals, they didn't matter. I just wanted to be healthy again.
Even the most basic things in life, like sleeping well, eating well, going to the bathroom, going for walks, like all of these things just became a luxury suddenly. We're also super grateful for our like family support and our friends who sent us a lot of encouraging messages and etc. That was like really, really nice. So thank you so much for all of that. Oh, we should also talk about the highlight of the surgery.
For a teratoma, it's very normal for the surgeon, when it's extremely large, to cut it into pieces while it's in my chest and then remove it piece by piece. Because again, the incision's not that large, so it's kind of difficult to pull it all out. The surgeon told us that for some reason he just felt compelled to not cut it into pieces that day. He felt like he was confident in his skills, and he's like, I'm going to try to cut away the whole thing and remove it. Afterwards, he told us that once he found out it was a thymoma, he said it would have been a disaster if he had cut it into pieces. Because just imagine, right? It's a pouch of cancer cells, and you cut it up.
You're just releasing all the
releasing
cancer cells
into the rest of the chest cavity. And I probably would need radiotherapy. I might even need chemotherapy if you cut it up. So
yeah.
again, just goes back to like how lucky we are. Like huge shout out to the surgeon and the assistant surgeon who was really helpful, and the whole medical team that supported us throughout our stay. I'm Korean healthcare pilled at this point, way superior than any Canadian healthcare system. Sorry, Canada. I say that kind of half jokingly, but if for any of our Canadian friends or followers watching this, take your health seriously and get a preventative health checkup. Don't leave your health up to chance, which I think is basically what I was doing for 30 years. I get shivers thinking about what would have happened if I didn't get this checked, and I just let this thing continue growing.
And I guess like that is a good way to transition into what we're doing differently now to take care of our health. biggest thing that we're doing is we're eating healthy. We're trying to reduce eating processed foods and like fried foods. We love fried chicken. Who doesn't love fried chicken? We love French fries in burgers and etc. But we're trying to limit those. We're trying to eat more whole foods, more vegetables, more fruits.
We're also taking a lot of supplements. So if I remember correctly, like turmeric is a really good supplement for reducing inflammation.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, this is the turmeric that we're taking. It's interesting because it actually comes in pills like this.
They're basically little balls of turmeric. Like you
Yeah.
can obviously buy turmeric in just powder form, and
But I think this is just like really convenient to take it, right? And I think we've actually taken a lot of it, obviously. And we're taking omega-3. So this is the one we're taking currently. It's really good for reducing inflammation as well. It's also good for skin. So it's like best of both worlds. If you want good, glass skin, you should take omega-3.
we also take vitamin D is really important. Generally, you would get vitamin D from the sun, but most of us, we live modern lifestyles where we're not in the sun nearly as much as our ancestors. And so I think supplementing with vitamin D, there's a lot of good research on the health benefits.
We started taking care of our immune system because
Yeah, the thymoma is related to the thymus gland, and the thymus gland is part of the immune systems.
the last one we're taking because of the immune system is red ginseng. It's a very like premium health gift.
We're filming this during Lunar New Year,
Yeah.
and yeah, red ginseng is very popular as a gift to give during New Year's as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good benefits for red ginseng. It boosts immune system, improves energy levels, enhances cognitive function, supports heart health, anti-inflammatory effects, stress relief. I think stress relief is so important for any diseases. It's literally like one of the biggest reasons for causing illnesses.
So I think those are most of the supplements. We also take a multivitamin, which includes things like zinc and magnesium.
But I think these four are probably like the ones that we take religiously.
During the surgery, they had a camera and they were kind of navigating within me. One of the benefits of being lean is that I didn't have a lot of visceral fat around my organs, so it was easier for them to do the surgery. However, if for some reason, if the cancer was more advanced and I needed to do chemotherapy, being lean is actually not good because you can lose so much fat and muscle mass through chemotherapy. And so that's one of my goals for this year. I mean, it's always been a struggle for me to put on weight, but I'm taking it very seriously this year where I see it no longer as like a aesthetic or like superficial reason to gain weight and muscle. It's like, this is serious for my health. I've always considered myself a relatively healthy person. I've taken my health, I'd say, fairly seriously. I didn't prioritize it as much as I should. It took over a year from when we moved to Korea to get a full health checkup, despite it being so available here. For anyone that's listening or watching that also says to themselves, I'm a healthy person, I take my health seriously. Are you really taking your health seriously? When was the last time you got a full health checkup? When you're unhealthy, there's only one thing you want, and that's to be healthy again.
We're going to do our best to take care of our health this year and moving forward. But we would also love to hear from you guys, like what you're doing this year to take care of your health. So please leave in the comment section and share with us. So we really hope that this video was helpful. And if you have any further questions about Thymoma, I feel like we did a lot of research. So feel free to either leave a comment or message me or email me, etc. But yeah, I think that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching till the end. And Brandon also is on YouTube sharing a lot of finance related content. So please go check out Wealth Potion. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.